at that time. So we are a little late, but I'd like to call to order this special meeting, and it's labeled, give me a second so I can, it's just special meeting for the clerk. And of course, the time is 12:36. It's June 25th, and there is a quorum present for the clerk. And public comment is now prepared and ready, and Tyner's going to help cue that up. And then the regular agenda item will follow, and it's basically just the discussion and consideration of a resolution in support of Nueces County Judge's order regarding use of face coverings and related matters. And obviously, it's in regards to that order that will be in effect tomorrow morning. Well, tonight at midnight. And Tyner's coming. Here it comes. Okay, it's just Margaret. Not just Margaret. Sorry, Margaret. We love Margaret.
It's Margaret.
It's special. It's Margaret Mead. Here, go ahead, Margaret.
I'm actually going to be reading public comment from two different people that emailed their public comment in. The first person that emailed in, they emailed them into Commissioner Chesney, and the name is David Loeb, D-A-V-I-D, last name L-O-E-B, Landlord Resources, LLC, at 3833 South Staples, Suite S116 in Corpus Christi. And he says, Judge and Commissioners, I am writing to provide public comment on your resolution and order on mask. You all know who I am, but as a reminder, I am the owner and operator of Landlord Resources LLC and its associated properties. I bought out my family members 5 years ago in one of the largest commercial real estate transactions in county history. My portfolio is a mix of office and retail space spread throughout the town. I own property in each county precinct. Total square footage is 360,000 square feet. I am one of your largest taxpayers who isn't a corporation and actually lives here. My total annual local property tax bill is over $500,000. Due to the nature of my business, we've been hit hard by the pandemic. My collections of rent are down 15 to 20%. This is actually exceedingly good. It's only that high because I worked hard to get as many tenants PPP as possible and was ready for curbside when it happened. I ordered signs when New York went curbside only. My plea is simple. Strengthen the order the county judge issued. Make mask wearing in places of public accommodation mandatory. Include office building common areas, offices that provide services to the public, and all retail establishments. In all restaurants, people should wear masks when they aren't eating or drinking. That's for a couple of reasons. Number one, there are real public health benefits to wearing a mask. We've had several week experiments in it's too hard and it hasn't worked. When public policy doesn't work, you change it. Number two, across the board consistency makes it easier to follow and understand and enforce. I've had a mask requirement in my office building common areas for about a month. Enforcing it has been a challenge since people aren't used to the requirement everywhere. It would be much simpler if the standard was if you are going into somewhere where there are people other than your family, they are required to have you wear a mask. Then the exceptions are easier to understand. When you have to do something that puts something in your mouth. The overwhelming majority of the public wants this. We have a joke in my office that entrepreneurship is not always a positive character trait. That's into reference to our tenants being fairly independent people. When I imposed the rule, I expected more pushback. I got 10 positive responses, 3 wanting operational clarification, and only a single one that was mad about it. When I explained it, C4, he was fine with it. So you are most likely going to hear from the people whose way we just tried and are mad about it. Do yourself a favor and kindly let them down easy. Number 4, This is about consumer confidence. I have not entered a grocery store, big box, or public restaurant in 3 months. I am not alone. Everyone not wearing a mask is cutting huge swaths of the consumer base from accessing goods and services because they are too afraid to put their health in danger. This is why sales are down and rent is down. It will directly cripple your tax base either this year or next. Establishing by law safety protocols will bring people back to shopping and stores and rebound the economy. And half of people, a good guess, would actually venture out because of mask laws. Just the consumer confidence boost would be worth it. Even if masks didn't actually work, science says they do. Number 5, the exceptions to the requirement are frankly bullshit. Sorry,
You said to take that out. I'm sorry. That's my
I
bad.
did not see that.
Yeah, it's okay.
I apologize. If someone has a disability that prevents mask-wearing businesses can provide remote delivery or curbside services. This clause reeks of emotional support peacocks on airlines-type policy. It's a get-out-of-jail card for, bad word, people with real respiratory conditions shouldn't be out and about in stores to begin with. We won't let quadriplegics solo skydive because it's insane. Sure, you can leave it to individual businesses to try and make the best call, but that makes it impossible for people to know. It's exactly why we are 100 cases a day now. We all wear seatbelts because it's the law. We should all wear masks because it's the law as well. Last, we're in the decision point of whether you all have the fortitude to do everything you can to prevent another shutdown. The first one was devastating. The second one will be more so. Err on the side of caution on this and make masks mandatory for businesses to operate, just like you are requiring them of people visiting the courthouse. Doing so lets business owners avoid arguments with customers. They can just say, sorry, we are following the law, and end the discussion. If you are worried about blowback, strengthen it. Pass it and put it on as a referendum in November for the voters to confirm your decision. By then, people will be used to it, and it'll pass easily. Thank you for your time. I'm not coming in person for public comment at your meeting because doing so would be crazy and irresponsible.
Thank you, Margaret.
And I also have another one
Okay.
from Commissioner, that was emailed to Commissioner Chesney. And it is from May Lanphier, Maylanphier. I do not agree with this mandate, since it should be my right to wear a mask or not. I am careful, washing my hands, social distancing, and using sanitizer as needed. We are not your children, we are adults. The only reason there are so many positive cases is, as the experts, including the CDC, are saying, at least half of the positives are false positives, so your numbers you were going off of are false. So how do you explain that? I believe you were threatening businesses with their business/health license, and it should be illegal and unethical. There are a lot of people that think the way I do and will be glad to remind people at election time. This is not a scientific decision that is being made, not made on any scientific facts. It's a political decision because the CDC says masks are not protecting anybody from anything. This is a scare tactic by our officials and the media for control. I applaud people who are scared and want to wear masks. Let them. But if they are too scared, then stay home and leave those of us who want to live our way. I would also like to address the problem I have with county and city employees who drive around all day in city/county vehicles next to each other. Shouldn't they all be forced to wear face masks in county city vehicles? This should include all employees in company vehicles if this is the case. Evidently, none of us can use common sense.
Thank you, Margaret.
There was also one from Rose Harrison. I don't know, did y'all get that one?
Well, let me just say, I mean, I have 100 in my inbox.
Yeah, I forwarded
And
that
I
to the
didn't
court,
realize we
but there
were-
was, when a commissioner asked me to do it, I did it because Commissioner Chesney specifically
people just
asked
asked me
me,
to read it.
and that's why I did it.
Yeah.
Nobody asked me to do Rose Harrison's.
Right, and like I said, I have about 100, and I
was gonna
bet
say
all
she
of you
was-
guys did
She was
too.
also in favor of that.
Right, there was
Right.
Other
and-
mass.
they were the ones who asked me to read them, that's all I did.
Understood. Okay, so that concludes our public comment at this time. And now we're going to move into the regular agenda item A. And it's my understanding from Belinda, after this was posted, sometimes when we're trying to get agendas posted, we try to err on the side of caution to include things in case you want to have that opportunity to act in a certain way. After it was posted, Belinda and Laura, I think it was really Laura, Belinda, who's gave us the advice that really it's just number 1 that we're going to be discussing. Can you confirm that? That at this moment, it's just a resolution at this time? I remember that was the advisory.
Yes, Your Honor. Number 1 would be a resolution in support of
Cor-
your order.
correct.
Because that order was done under your 418 authority. Now, if they want to consider number 2, that's just basically doing a regulation for the courthouse and the courthouse
Only.
facilities only.
Right.
Under their local government code authority.
Exactly. The reason, sorry about that. The reason that the distinction needs to be made is that I think it was Friday. You know, it could have been Monday. Like I said, all the days run together. But basically, a few days ago, Harris County's county attorney, Vince Ryan, asked the Attorney General for an opinion as to whether or not a county judge under his or her emergency management powers could mandate masks in county facilities. And it was sort of, we were all put on notice that this had been formally asked. And when I say formally, I mean, there was like a 3-page document that was produced to the Attorney General. At that point, it must have been Friday, because I called Tyner and said, you know what? Let's err on the side of caution. Let's go ahead and put this on the agenda, we thought maybe the Attorney General would, too much latte, I apologize. The Attorney General would maybe, give us an opinion over the weekend or Monday, and we didn't want to be left without resources. So the reason it's there is because we have that pending question. We haven't had direction yet from the AG. There's no opinion. I just wanted you all to know that we have acted in the emergency management category. And if the AG wants us to act as a court, I'm happy to do that. And I, as evidence, I put it on as number 2. Okay? So that's where we are on that issue. And so that's why number 2 is there. But since we don't have an AG opinion, I think we should just hold, is the advice of the county attorney, and deal only with the resolution. Unless I guess they could act in advance. I guess you could. Or if you want to wait for the AG's opinion, Belinda, I mean, it's up to the court.
It really is up to the court. I mean, y'all do have the authority to do regulations under local government code. It's not in conflict with the judge's order, much like if y'all are considering the support of her order, that resolution. So,
Okay.
it is y'all's
It's
call.
up to us, okay? I mean, so let's take number 1, but now you know the genesis of number 2, okay? Number 1 is a resolution in support of the order that's existing. And I do want you to know, as I said, I've signaled that there's going to be an amendment to that order because there's some gaps. But again, we're not asking you to approve something that you haven't had a privilege of seeing yet, or I haven't even, asked the county attorney yet
Table it?
for me to look at it. But, well, I think you should act at least on one, and then we can come back and act on another. But the idea is to be able to discuss it as a court. I've looked at the other urban centers. They have the opportunity to discuss it as a court. And I just thought that you would want that opportunity. If you don't want it, obviously, that's not a problem either. But to me, it's always good to be able to say, hey, you left a gaping hole here, or you didn't address this there. For example, you brought up Ms. Harrison. She was very concerned about the 2 weeks. I got a lot of emails about the 2 weeks. The reason we do that is all of our orders have a short time period to mimic the other urban centers for consistency. And then what we do is I re-sign them. That's not an issue. It's not like in 2 weeks it's going to end, but it gives us a stopping point to evaluate where we are. And the county attorney keeps these deadlines for me. And over the course of the last 4 months, I have reissued orders a dozen times. So I just want the audience to know that 2 weeks is not because I think it's only going to be in existence for 2 weeks, but that's the protocol that we've done. The other big issue that I thought it was worthy of discussion was the effective date. And I said, we may have goofed, now I know I need to put 12:01, Belinda, not midnight, because technically midnight is Friday morning, tomorrow morning. If I'd put 12:01, it would have been the next day, okay? So it is gonna go into effect in the morning, and that means those businesses that provide goods or services to the public will have to post in their window what their plan is, and there is enforcement for that. So I just want you to know that I appreciate maybe we didn't need 100, but certainly good idea, Commissioner Chesney. You kind of have one like really feeling one way and another comment really feeling another way. It provides a pretty good spectrum. We didn't do Goldilocks, the one that was in the middle, right, that was just right, but we didn't present that opinion. But there's no doubt that people feel very strongly about this issue. Some feel that I haven't done enough. Some people think that I've done too much. Some people that think it's perfectly, a good step one. And so I just wanted you all to be able to weigh in on those things. Another big issue was beaches. We've already covered that I don't have that authority at this time. Let's see, another big issue on the masks was, what about the eating and the drinking, the restaurants and the bars? And I have reached out to the associations, and I'm waiting to get some formal feedback, right? I've also reached out to the Medical Society, and I reached out to the doctors this morning. Why did I do all that? Well, because as numbers change, we need to be ready to accept the fact that the call might come from the medical community to do more. And I wanted you all to be able to have that input. I don't want to tell you that I've had the opportunity this morning to hear from everybody, but for instance, the CEO of Christus asked that, I relay that it's his desire to have universal, masking, that he's in favor of that because of what he's seeing starting this week, right? So there's pros and there's cons for everything, but I just thought that it was important enough to get this as a special meeting. The reason it had to be special is because we missed the 72-hour by, 2 hours, Tyner. So for the public, in other words, on Monday, I called you, and we had just missed our window for today. And to get it on for yesterday. I can't remember, Tyner. But anyway, it couldn't make our old agenda. It needed to make a new agenda.
Right, that's correct. We were past amendment time on the current agenda, so we posted a new agenda at noon and got
Right.
that done. Remotely, we got it done, by the way.
And so I'd ask for y'all's comments at this time.
Judge, I think that the media and the community have had a lot of time to kind of look over phase one, and obviously that's why we've gotten a lot of feedback. You kind of alluded to it, and I'd like to get an idea of when should we expect a phase two? Like, you feel, this is gonna put out the order for the community, for the restaurants, like you said, waiting to hear back from them, medical community, really give us some feedback. So when do you anticipate there being another order, or are you going to wait until this one ends before creating a new one?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think the right answer is that I don't think we should wait until an order ends if the data shows something different. So, for example, there was, in the last public comment, I won't repeat the words, but he said it was blank, that I had exceptions for medical. Well, I don't think, and I respect Mr. Lowe very much, and I respect all citizens' opinions, and but I will say that the American Disabilities Act is not bull blank. It's very real, and it's very important to the citizens of this community. And I understand where he's coming from, so I'm not trying to trick anybody up on semantics, but the exceptions need to be in there. I think the ADA requires it, as I understand the law. And so there'll be things, John, that I probably won't yield on. I'm not going to yield on an ADA exception, period, because that's the law. And I've been advised by counsel, but I'm going to continue to go to counsel. And by the way, thank you, Belinda. I mean, don't get me emotional, because, when you're under stress and you're a female, there's always a lot of emotion. But thank you for the constant help you gave to me from last Thursday till literally last night late. But it's not alone. You're not alone. We reached out to Miles Risley, and I want to thank him at the city for helping. I want to thank Del Mar College, Texas A&M University. One of the things we should do is tell you how many more people are already mandating masks that we didn't have to order because they already have the order, okay? And that's another thing, is that I don't know if we should, I'm going to continue to try to message stronger that we have a lot of compliance outside this order based upon conversations, relationships, and feedback that we've been getting. Let me give you an example. The Lexington, they weren't mandated, but they called yesterday and said, as of yesterday, because of my order, they had a board meeting and they're going to do that. Even though they're a primarily outdoor museum, when they're indoors, they're going to, justify. The Texas State Aquarium, I mentioned yesterday in my press briefing, they've gone from 6% to 60% to 70% mask wearing before the order because of the messaging that I've and the city have been doing through press briefings that this order will take into effect tomorrow. What I'm saying to you is there's a lot of people who want to comply, and they're not necessarily on this order. And to the extent they want to be, because they want that carrot, I want to include them. I just want to make sure that we have buy-in, and and why is that important? Not because I don't have the courage to write it, but because when you want to make sure that something's successful, you want to make sure that that audience is going to cooperate. Because when there's no enforcement, there's no ticket, there's no enforcement, what good does it do to pen it if you're not going to have buy-in? So this step one was because I had the opportunity to talk to HEB, to talk to La Palmera, to talk to the aquarium, to talk to Texas A&M, Del Mar, the port, and on and on and on. Everybody that's listed had an opportunity as a stakeholder to visit with us. And I thought that that's where the real high-volume traffic was, and that's what our local health authority and our health director wanted me as an emergency manager to focus on, put my thumb on those problems. Now, 200 cases a day, we got another problem. So I just want you guys to know that we're constantly tweaking. And then I appreciate the pastor visiting with us, so I'm working with the interfaith community to say, what can you do for us? By the way, they've been on our train probably since day one, okay? And so we're trying to figure it out, from July 4th fireworks to outdoor concerts and venues. We are constantly working with the community. So this order is only a piece, a fraction of all those people that are already under their own orders. But it becomes a phased approach. I think that's what you said. I think that's a good way to look at it. And when can you expect it? I think the public probably needs to know something by, Monday of next week or Tuesday of next week. But I like that we talk about it. And if you think it's great to just blanket agreements the way other counties have done it, I'm not going to argue with what's good for them. I'm not in charge of Harris County. I'm only in charge of us. But a blanket agreement doesn't help this community figure out really where we need to concentrate on. And that's just how I approach every order we do. None of our orders have been like any other orders, except for the ones that the governor has given us. We tailor them to our own needs.
Well, Judge, and with that, I mean, I support you, and I think this is a good first step. I think there's a majority of people in this community, in this county, that want to see more, and so it's good to hear that that's what you're looking at. And also earlier, I mean, the governor has, it was tweeted that the governor has put a stop to increasing any further phases in Texas.
Yes.
So that's something that we should realize that he has really been pumping the brakes a lot lately, that is mirroring what our needs are, what the county's needs are, and then to say that he's not gonna go to another phase of opening in light of everything that's happening in the community center hubs of the state. So I think that that's really showing that this is not a political issue. This is not a
That's right.
partisan issue. This is a matter of public health and safety, which is one of our big tenets that we have to follow as the Commissioners Court. So I can't implore you enough that I think we need more in the mandating to match what other counties do, but I know that you have been trying to work it to where it matches uniquely in Oasis County, and I do appreciate the buy-in you're trying to get, but I know that there's a lot of people that want to see more enforcement of that. But hey, you don't need government to tell you,
Don't.
if this is important to you, then wear it.
That's right.
You
And
don't need us to tell you to do that. You should do it on
Yeah.
your own, and businesses should want that, because if they have healthier or customers who are coming in with a less chance of passing it, then your business can stay open longer. We can't afford to shut down
Right.
our economy like we did before.
No,
We can't afford that.
We can't. And we're hit double down here with the energy sector, okay? So it's not just a general economy, it's our economy. So it's a double whammy. But I've said it, the governor said it, wear masks, okay? Wear masks everywhere where you can't social distance and everywhere that you can in public spaces. They're good, and the science is overwhelmingly showing that asymptomatic carriers are out there and doing a lot of spreading, and that this disease can be, airborne. So it's very, very important. And I think that, as I said, we're working with our health experts. And I will always share with you the truth, what they say and what they tell us is recommended and advisable.
Well,
Commissioners,
I think I'll go ahead and weigh in.
Go
as mu-
ahead.
As much as I hate to.
go ahead.
I get why you put it on here. I know that you want the support of the court, and this is just a doozy that you chose to put this one on here from all the other decisions you've made. Because like I said earlier, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't, because we're getting, I've got so many emails on this, for and against. I don't see that there's an equal that you're more for or more against. That's not what I'm getting. To me, it's just personal responsibility, and some think this is picking and choosing different ones, when it really is the responsibility of these businesses to make. So, it amazes me that sometimes they don't want government intervention. Then all of a sudden they do, and I'm hearing from one big box store, I can't enforce this. And the reason I'm not going to enforce it is because there may be an altercation. And he's right, there could be. So hire a security guard or hire the police officer. I don't know. But you have to take the personal responsibility to do it. And I think that what's happened is we've had people going to graduation parties, lake parties, protests. They were peaceful, thank you, and that was good. But all kinds of things that everyone has done, and they let their guard down, and then we're seeing a spike. I'm not as concerned about as so many people are, because I really believe that I believe in the herd mentality, but I think this is a different kind because it's so contagious. Do I want to wear the mask? Like I said, no, I don't. I don't know, Judge, if you don't need our support or
no.
resolution, and I know you're brave enough to do it. You've been doing it all along, but I get why you're requesting that we do it. I think we can overcome this if everybody will just be responsible, like you're being asked, because what's going to happen, I really believe this, if this continues, you could look at a shutdown, and that is the last thing that we need or want. So I think we have to cooperate. Where I'm at on the cooperation, I don't know right now, because I just think that it's personal responsibility. Don't go to the stores. If you don't have the mask on, don't go. Stay home. And if you want to go, go. I just hate to see an order that can't be enforced when there's really orders on the books for these businesses. They can refuse service if they don't follow the rules. So I'm having a real struggle with this.
And Carolyn, what I'm looking for is just an opportunity for you guys to weigh in. It sometimes, I feel like there's not a chance for us to really gather as a group, and I'm
And
very
we've asked for that.
fortunate that I get to have a great relationship with all of you, and you can call me and share, and I ask Tyner every time, hey, go get their input. But I just wanted, not necessarily to get the resolution as much as I wanted you to have an opportunity to weigh in and to share with me where there's holes, where there's gaping holes. I'll give you an example, hotels. As hard as Belinda and I were penning, I don't think the word hotel ever came up, but that was my intention, high volume traffic, right? So that's a fix that I think everybody can agree with, that in the common spaces, when you're, because we're in a touristy type of community, that in common spaces and hotels, that's a good place where everyone's running around, that you would be asked to wear a mask, no different than the grocery store. So I think that that happens because we talk and that we converse. And again, the reason that we didn't do a universal blanket is because, for me, with no enforcement with this mask law, the real teeth is when you buy into it, when you believe it, when you know it's the right thing, when you see the evidence that our cases are going down. And what is the trigger? So in 10 days, we've gone from 25 cases to 200. If I had set phases like when we are 100% more, I would have already blown by that, right? So for me to set a hard and fast rule, I'd have to set something ridiculous like 200% higher, right? So I expect that today we will have another 200 cases, and, next week it could get higher. And so I want everyone to be on notice that things are changing rapidly, and that public health is going to demand that we might do more. I thought that that was good for last week, that this was where we needed to target. I get my direction from our incident commander, which is our health director and authority. They wanted me to target this area. One area that they think is really bad right now are bars. How do they think bars are bad? Because they're contact tracing. And they're seeing the people in a certain bracket saying, I've gone to this bar, this bar, this bar repeatedly. So I think what's happening is we've got to start being way more responsible about our outside behavior. That's not to say you shouldn't patronize small business, restaurants, and the like. It's that you can't be congregating. And what happens when we drink? We let our guard down and we get closer to people. We're just not, we're not 100%
You holler more.
with the faculty.
You
So,
holler
or
more.
maybe you louder. So I think that everything you're saying is very valid. I just wanted us to have a mechanism last week when we set this agenda for us to discuss it. And I'm okay however this court wants to proceed.
And I appreciate, Judge, that you allowed us, because we've all been screaming, we want input.
Yes.
So when we get input, we can't be afraid because of public perception of what we're going to say. And we need to remember this is what I'm thinking. We're not talking about one life that you're having to try and keep safe, which they should be trying to keep their own selves safe first, but it's over 325,000 people. That is a heavy burden to put on anyone's shoulder, and I hope the public understands that. This is not a small decision, it's a big decision when you have to go out and put these mandates out. I don't like them. I don't think anybody does. But I just think it's personal responsibility, and unfortunately, we have some people that don't want to do
And I-
that.
And I think that the business kind of don't want to be the bad guys either. They want us to be the bad guys. And, I think if they want the business, they should be proactive and put a sign, no mask, no service. And, because they should be worried about their employees, and they should be worried about their family's employees and all this other. So I think if we start doing everybody, then it's going to say, well, they told me to do it. It was their decision, and they're going to come back to us saying, well, you're the one that did it.
Yeah, I will just tell you, I flat out asked big box stores and major grocers, why aren't you doing this? That you're already doing it in San Antonio and Hidalgo and Webb and everywhere around us, because I wanted to understand their perspective. A good judge represents everybody, not one special interest. And the interest that I'm representing, to represent everybody, is public health. And so I asked them, because I really wanted to understand it, and that's the answer. The answer back is, we want you
Yes.
to be the one that mandates it, because we can't do it because people will yell at us. They will be angry with our employees. We will not be able to have a positive
security.
workforce. And so that's why they want to do it. So like you said, Carolyn, when it suits them,
Yes.
government shouldn't be in their business. And when it doesn't suit them, they want government to tell them what to do. Hey, I get it, and I'm okay. I ran for the office. It's part of my job. I'm okay with it. But I hope that you all understand that getting the input and buy-in and the consensus from the mayor, who's my partner in this, from the city of Corpus Christi, the largest urban town, was important to us, so that we could, without enforcement powers, really try to get people to change their behavior. That's the goal. Change your behavior. Stay home if you can, wear masks if you can, and if you're a business. And by the way, one of the things I'm we're gonna talk about in our EOC later today, is I saw something on TikTok, which was pretty great. It was a whole community's effort to change masks from being a negative thing to being a kind thing. I think the way it was said was, be a good neighbor. And it was literally, be a good neighbor on one side, be kind on another. And it was a kind of a smiley face with a mask and a heart. And it changes your perspective of masks being negative to masks being positive in the right scene. This was a
Well, you know, I
community
think-
in Texas,
Yeah,
I don't
that-
remember who.
By us doing it, the county, from all county buildings, they should, people
Leadership.
you should take the lead. I said, and city does it by the all city buildings, and I think the people start saying, wow, you know what? We need to do
doing
what
it.
they're doing, you know?
I hope
So I
so.
think by us doing that, I think we should take the lead and just say, we're gonna do it in county. Right now, we should do all county buildings like you had it in your order, right? But I think we should do that. I think, you know.
Well, I would like, maybe that's where we could start, is that I want to give you the opportunity. That's number two. It's to reinforce our power under 418, under the local government code. Is it 418.108? Okay, I can't remember, but it's under the local government code. We have the opportunity to control our space. And so the question is, do you want to resolve that that is something that you're willing to do? And that's why I put it on the agenda, that all county buildings adhere to the mask wearing in public spaces where social distancing can't be practiced and where, of course, an exception is given for ADA. And again, I want to be sensitive to the citizens' comments, but the hearing impaired can't wear a mask. And so, because they need to look at your lips in many instances. I'm very sensitive to those issues. Anyway, what is your pleasure? Commissioner Chesney?
Were you done, Commissioner?
Commissioner?
Okay. Judge, I want to start by saying that I think you've done a great job. I've told this publicly, I've told this privately, don't care, not playing politics in this, like you are not doing either. I have no problem telling someone when they do a good job, and I have no problem telling someone when, you know, I disagree with. And so I appreciate the effort that's gone through. What I will 100% go on the record with all my comments today, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to start down the path on voting on some things and voting on other things. I would prefer to, because I think we've all been very much vocal, and that's why we put that one agenda item on. I think Commissioner Vaughn started with that, and that was the whole purpose of that, so we could talk about anything we wanted to, COVID-related, and we spend a lot of time in our meetings doing it. And I think everybody knows where we stand because we've all been pretty vocal about it. And so what I don't want to do, and I don't want you to think we need to do it, because then it's going to be a pick and choose. It's going to be, okay, let's vote on this one, let's don't vote on this one, let's, you know, and so my druthers on this is to take no action, but I will gladly give you my input, because I don't think it's a good precedent to start by saying, let's pick which ones we want to vote on and pick which ones we don't. You're in charge. Nobody has questioned that. I know sometimes you think we are, and you get a little uptight about it, and if you really look at the comments made by every commissioner on this court, I don't think, with exception, unless someone has asked us specifically on a project, like maybe the COVID project or the, you know, Memorial deal, no one's thrown you under the bus. No one's come out and said, you know, dang her for this, or tried to, you know, I don't do it. If you don't think I get all the calls from the right saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, but I don't go back and say she's doing a bad job. Nobody's on this court, I don't think, has tried to do that. So I want to give you my comments on the order, because I think that's important, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to start putting agenda items on and having to vote them unless we're going to do them all, and that's impossible. It can't just be this one and another one. So my feeling is I would rather just table both of these, but I would like to give you my input on the order, because I want to be on the record for it, because I want to say when there's goods and I want to say when there's bads. So that would be my druthers on the agenda items. My input is this. I require masks in my business. I personally wear masks. My families wear masks. The governor has said he wears masks. The governor has said everyone should wear masks. And I think that this order in itself is about as good a start as if you're going to have an order. And I know that's going to get me in a little trouble, and I don't really care, because I think this is reasonable, because no offense to the media, this is a mask order only if you cannot socially distance. And that has not been clearly articulated in the media. and it's all mask order, judge to order, mask order, judge to, but the reality is, it should be, judge looks at ordering masks if you can't socially distance in certain locations only, not outdoors, not in all businesses. You have to have a protocol if you're, I think if you're I don't even think you have to have a protocol if you're an essential business. I think it's just for the ones that are non-essentials. So my business, which is considered, and I'm gonna do one, but my business is an essential business, but I'm still gonna do one because I think it's a good idea to do it. So my personal feeling on this order is, if there has to be one, to me, this is a decent first step, because I think that it is not overly burdensome. And if you can socially distance, and that needs to be clear to people, if you can socially distance, you don't have to wear a mask. That's what this order says, and that's really important. And this is really different than Bexar counties and really different than Harris counties. And I appreciate, and again, I'm gonna call it out when I don't see it the right way, but I'm gonna call it when I see it the right way too. I appreciate your attempts here, because I get that you're getting the heck kicked out of you by the left. And I don't mean that negatively, and I don't try to be, because they want mask at all cases, and the right wants mask no cases. And so you're trying to measure the balance of what is right and what is wrong, and it's not an easy task. And there is not a role I would want to have it less than to be the county judge or the governor or the president at this particular time, because there is no winning either way. But I'm going to be clear. I you know, like I said, if you're going to make us vote, I'm going to abstain, because I don't want to have anything to do with voting on any of your orders right now, because I think you're doing a good job, and I don't want to see a bunch of things put on for the next resolutions and everything else. But I mean, personally, please read this order. When I send my response, when people send me something and they say, oh my gosh, this is, and I go, well, let me just make sure you're reading this section. If it only says you have to wear it, even in the big boxes, if you can't socially distance. And if you can't socially distance, well, then okay, in certain areas, you have to wear it. Not in businesses, only the ones that are listed. Please read this order before you go crazy saying it's terrible, because you still may not like it if there's anything required to wear a mask. I get it. I respect that position in people, I really do. I don't want someone to tell me to do it. I'd prefer someone not to tell me in my business to do it, because I'm a responsible person and I'm gonna do it, and I've done it. I started doing this before anybody did. We had all kinds of proactive things going on. Like I said, I got plexiglass everywhere. We clean daily. We washing hands. And if they're not following the protocols, then they're not following them, and to my knowledge. So I you know, again, am I gonna get in a little trouble in this? Yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't care. I think this is a reasonable approach to do it. Going forward, if we're going to phase two, I might fall off that train pretty quick. And so I don't need to have those discussions all the time, every time. You're in charge of this. You've made it clear to us, and not in and you don't have to. I promise you, I know, this is your call, and I don't want your calls. Look, I didn't run for county judge because I didn't want to be county judge. You ran for county judge because you did. Nobody could have anticipated this, and you know. But I think you've done as good a job as any other county judge, and probably better than most. I don't care if you are a Democrat and I'm a Republican. I'm going to say it out loud, because I'm not going to play politics on this. People's safety is important. These are lives we're talking about, whether you have it strongly or not. I get that people have different feelings and different impressions on it, that it's only this and it's only that. But at the end of the day, this is a serious situation that we have to deal with. And unfortunately, I think we have to deal with this maybe for the rest unfortunately, of the year, and maybe long past that. And that is concerning, and I hope we can ever go back to some normal life. So, and I know I've talked a lot today, and I apologize for that. I've tried over the last several months to really limit my comments, because I want to move things along. But this stuff is important, and this one strikes a chord with me. And so, again, I would personally move that we table both 1 and 2 and move on. But I think I'm clearly on the record with my input. I have no problem expressing that to you, and I appreciate your efforts and continue to support you in those efforts. So that would
The
be
only
my.
thing I would say is I would be in favor of tabling number 2, as long as you guys will give me the opportunity to hold a special commissioners meeting if the Attorney General says I don't have authority. Because I would need then for you all to weigh in. So if
But
the
even-
Attorney General doesn't say I
Sure.
have the authority on county facilities,
But even there,
I'd want to
Judge,
bring it back.
even there, that one says only if you can't socially distance. Again, the media has got to pick up on this.
Yeah, well, that's
It only
true.
says if you can't socially distance. So anyway, I've made a motion and second
Right.
to table, and you
I'm
can-
glad you brought that up, because that really needs to resonate, and I agree with him, Judge.
People
You know,
aren't
you were
reading the
elected
order.
by a majority of this county to be the judge in the seat. And there is a respect that we should give you for that, and respect your authority and your decisions that you make, and thank God I'm not having to make them.
And Judge, and let me tell you, if you, and I think, and again, I know I'm beating a horse, but if you weren't asking for this, then believe me, and you heard from all of us, and I mean, being fair, at the beginning of this, it was a rough time, okay? Not pointing fingers, I'm just saying, you heard from all of us that we weren't getting enough information. You responded, and the information overload we have now gotten it, okay? And this is a positive, so I'm saying, you heard us, you responded, we now get tons and tons of stuff. You do ask us for input on more things. You listen to us when we give you input. You've made it clear that we can call you anytime, and if we don't, then it's on us if we don't. We're not always gonna agree. We haven't always agreed on everything. We're not gonna continue to. I don't take it personally when you listen to me and say, I don't agree with you, and I hope you don't either. And that's gonna be the way that we do this. But this has got to be beaten into the media, and the media's got to help us get this out. This is only if you can't socially distance. That's what this one is. That's all this is right now.
And I have a motion, is there a second?
Before you do that, is
Yes.
Health included in this? Is there?
I'm so sorry, can you say that again?
Before you conclude, is Oil Belt included in this since it's a county facility in this order?
It would be, Belinda, wouldn't it? Except for outdoors wouldn't count. So if Oil Belt is the baseball field,
Is?
then it wouldn't count because we're not targeting outdoor
Indoors, okay.
spaces.
They're asking, okay,
Right.
thank you.
500 to 100
Correct.
on the groups, right?
Yes, but I think she's talking about masks out at.
Yeah.
And Judge, I'm sorry, one other thing, I forgot, one more note of my thing. The one thing that people have asked me to ask you to look at, and I'm
Okay.
not.
That's what we're here for, go
I'm gonna freak
ahead.
everybody out by saying it, because I'm the guy that really would not, wanna do it, is there may be a hole with gyms. Because, I know I hate to say that, because I'm gonna get calls from gym owners, and I've had constituents call me and say, hey, look, I'm not saying all the time, every time, but maybe there's something in there to look at because of all the sweating and
Distance.
and maybe.
So
don't know.
I appreciate that.
It's
I don't
just
know
a-
if everybody heard him, but he was saying he got a lot of calls for gyms. And I did speak with some gym owners and asked what their protocols were.
And if you're comfortable with that,
Well, they basically,
good.
just so I can share it with everybody, what they basically told me is that social distancing is required in every single instance in their gym, and they are policing it, and the issue is you just can't work out with the mask. That was their
if
their
you've addressed
thought.
it, that's.
But I
that's-
just want you to know,
You've
it's
addressed
not
it.
like I stop, right? It's not like the information flow stops. I'm always looking for new information. If there's a better way to do it, if there's a need for, if something's not working and causing a health concern, a public health concern, I'm gonna try to address it. As I told one constituent, every minute of every day, since the last 4 months, to a fault. I think, Jackie Black, my daughter, put it perfectly last night when she said, can't you just go back to being a lawyer?
Never again.
Actually, quite frankly, it hurt, because I know exactly what she meant. You're living it, you're breathing it, and you're not stopping. And so what I want to say to all of you is that every time I hear you're not doing enough, I want to do more. I want to all I care about is the safety of this community. So all of your input is so valued. But if you see that I've left something out, I want you to know that I know where most of the holes are, but I want you to keep telling me where they are so that we can either get a right answer to the public and address it, or explain to the public why we're going to amend the order and include it. And so that's what today was all about. And again, I was really just concerned about what the AG was going to do last week. They didn't do anything, right, Belinda? So we're okay. The order is still fine, enforceable. But if the AG does come out and say we can't without Commissioners Court approval, I think I need to come back to you. Is that fair, Belinda? Yes. Okay, so I do have a motion. Did I hear a second?
Yes.
A motion and a second. Is there any other comment? Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think it was here and here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It was Commissioner Chesney.
Table both, yes, ma'am.
Okay? All right, to the next time, because we might have some more information from the Attorney General on the next time. Okay, I'm going to gavel us out and take a 5-minute break so that we can grab our lunch, bring it back here, and use whatever facilities we need to. For the clerk's position, it's 1:25 PM, and we're going to come back into regular agenda items. Take a small break for the clerk and for everybody. How about actually 10 minutes? I think 5's a little ridiculous. Let's do 10-minute break, and lunch is provided. Why don't we clear the courtroom, allow one person to come in and place the lunch here for you, okay? Thank you so much. The mics are still on, so please know your mics are hot. We'll come back into regular agenda for those following at home, 4A1. Oh, actually, Tyner, I got a request